this. One kick of the ball by Didier Drogba. Yeah, it's the greatest night in Chelsea history. Champions of Europe at last.
Welcome to the Blue Stands podcast, everyone. Episode number 3. We're flying by. As I've said, we're going to try and bring an episode once every week. Hope you guys have been enjoying it over the last couple of weeks, the 2 episodes that's been presented. And once again, I've got 2 lovely gentlemen. You know, I've been quite good friends with them as well in this social media, football Twitter platform. I've known them for quite a while now. They are contributors to the Blue Stands blog site as well. They've been writing quite a lot of articles, and I'm sure you guys would have come across some of their articles as well. And it's my pleasure to have some of these, 2 of these really exciting and intellectual mind frames in this particular episode. So first of all, I'll say hello to Kunal. Thanks for coming to the Blue Stands, man.
Always a pleasure, man. Always a pleasure. Ever since our last meeting on your YouTube channel, I was quite looking forward to the next opportunity when I get to talk to you guys. So yeah, even if it's a Sunday morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, I couldn't think of a better way to utilize it because obviously you cannot go outside. So what better way to discuss some football, Chelsea football with my friends?
Absolutely, man. I was just telling you guys beforehand that I think both you guys are from India, so I think it's 8:30 in the morning, Sunday morning, lockdown, and it's I would love to just talk footy, early in the morning. It's the best feeling. Now, once again, thank you so much, Kunal, coming in, and secondly, Ameya. Thank you for coming into the Blue Stands. I also had you in my channel a while back, and I'm pretty sure I'll have both of you guys again in my channel, but this time for the Blue Stands. How are you, man?
Yeah, I'm doing good, man. The selfish side of me is missing football, while the humane side of me is, empathizing with the rest of the world. But it's all right. It's all right.
Yeah, brilliant, man. Now, look, I think we can all agree that we're all missing football a lot. But at the end of the day, the bigger sort of situation here is all the people that are getting affected by this. I think football is a secondary nature at the moment. Although there's heavy talks happening at the moment that Premier League's going to come back, and there's a lot of controversy around the whole piece. But that's another story. Look, what we're going to talk about today, guys, is something a bit different. Since football has been in lockdown, a lot of us have always been just entertaining transfer news, which is the only sort of news that's sort of coming up at the moment. And, it seems like we are linked with almost everyone out there. And to a certain point, sometimes it gets a bit boring because I don't know if you guys noticed a couple of days ago, I tweeted that, Monday they won Kante out, Tuesday they won Kante in, Wednesday Kepa out, Thursday Kepa in. So this trend just keeps continuing. Exactly. So something different. I want to talk about something different, which is players that we have in our squad that we deem it as deadwood, I suppose. We want to go through at least 5 of these players with you guys, and we want to say, get your opinion on whether you want them to stay or go, and why is what I want to hear from you guys for your decisions that you're making. So let's start off with Kunal first. I want to talk about the bad boy Bakayoko. He's been in the news a couple of days ago, and he's been bought by us in 2017, Conte's second season, final season, for 5 years, Kunal, for 5 years, 5-year contract for Bakayoko. At first, he looked like a very, very exciting prospect from Monaco. That Monaco team had some excellent players. We ended up getting the one which didn't work out. Everyone else ended up getting players that worked out for them. But nonetheless, look, Bakayoko came into Chelsea. His introduction, I felt, was, he was under injury crisis. And his first game, I think it was against Spurs, and it was a win. But since then, everything sort of went south. So what's your feelings towards this particular player, man? He's been in loan ever since he was sort of the first season with us. And, of course, in the preseason, this season, he didn't really do well, and Frank made a decision quite straight away. So sum it up for us, what your feelings are towards Bakayoko, man.
So, if I'm not wrong, Bakayoko is French, right? So, I remember on football Twitter, seeing these people calling him French Drinkwater, Danny Drinkwater, which I think is a little, oh my God, I think you got over the top there. So, when you purchase these guys for, I think we paid more than 40 million pounds for him. So, it was a significant amount of money involved. And we gave him a 5-year deal. And he was a player specifically pointed out by Antonio Conte. So Antonio Conte, if the history has told us anything, our managers don't stick around. Maurizio Sarri, Antonio Conte. So when you purchase these, manager-specific players, the players such as Jorginho, he's a prime example of a manager-specific player. So when you buy these players, you at least have to make sure that you buy them on the cheap, because you're almost certain the manager is going to leave.
Absolutely.
The peers. Bakayoko, a 40 million investment, DM/CDM. I remember as well thinking that maybe, the fees involved was a pretty high fees, but I saw the first game and I saw those YouTube videos. My God, they shouldn't be the metric to judge a player. I thought he was.
What? YouTube cannot be the metric? Come on.
I was like, oh my God, Kante and Bakayoko, a pivot, a two-man pivot in the midfield. No one is getting center backs. They can relax. They can just chill out on their, yoga mats, and they can do whatever the stuff they like. And I was like, nobody's getting past them. And I think it was a game against Southampton where Bakayoko, I think he attempted 18 passes. He misplaced at least 30 of them.
Oof.
And that's not a stat. Like I saw that he's just not a confident guy on the ball. So main thing in the Premier League, it's a physical league. Yes, I know that, everyone knows that, but it's also, people don't give it enough credit for being a technically advanced league as well. So when you're not good on the ball and you're not that physical, so it basically means that you're not too much, you cannot contribute too much to the team's cause. We were the defending champions. Conte won us the league after we ended up 10th. Bakayoko is a very much a specific player, formation player. And the thing is, it's been in the news that certain clubs are still interested in signing him, PSG being the front runner in that regard. Yeah. And the fees quoted is almost the same that we paid for him. So I think as far as no-brainers go, this is the prime thing. As far as no-brainers go, this is the thing, this is the deal. I think we shouldn't even put a second thought to it. Even if the selling of Bakayoko means we have to, somehow manage a 5 to 10 million pound loss, I think it's a deal worth doing. We are already stacked in the midfield, and he's a CDM that still, is generating interest from the other clubs. As far as we can command a fee for him, I think it's time for him to. I think it's time for us to let go. We are, as I already mentioned, to quite a lot of midfielders out there, and we are already linked to so many midfielders. I don't know why that is the case, but we are supposedly with a lot of them. So yeah, I think he cannot really pass. He's not too much confident on the ball as well. And with that said, we have guys like Ethan Ampadu waiting in the wings who can play that role. We got him for free. He's an academy guy, and he's showing that he can, do it on the big stages. He did it against Spurs, so I think it's good enough to presume that he is good enough to play against the lower league sides, at least for the moment, while he grows into that role. So if you perform well against Spurs, it's an automatic thing for me as a fan that year. So Bakayoko, the fee that's being quoted around is around 40 million pounds. So once again, I'd say this is an absolute no-brainer. He doesn't have goal threat. if I was like, yeah, as a CDM, he's like a little bit of a goal threat, more so than Mateo Kovacic, then I would say, okay, we can, shuffle around. We can, indulge him into the team because we already lack goals from the midfield. There's no chance he's getting more goal involvements than even Kante. I think the £30 million fee would be quite significant as far as selling him is concerned. 30 million fee, and I think he should be let go for that.
Fair point, man. Ameya, you agree with Kunal in this instance that he has been quoted, I think, by PSG. They're interested to get him for about 30 million. What's your whole thoughts around this?
Yeah, I think both of you. I think both of you summed it up really well. I think that when we signed him, we expected him to replace an experienced Matic, which I don't think was right to expect from him. But particularly as Kunal mentioned, the YouTube videos, man, I thought we were getting the next big thing. I thought we had our Makelele and SEN replacement right there. But then when he actually donned the Chelsea kit, I'm like, is this the same player? Are you sure they haven't given us someone else? Because, as you mentioned, all the other Monaco players, they're excelling in their roles right now at their respective clubs. Yeah. And Bakayoko, well, he's just become a part of the loan army. And
he's gone back to Monaco. That's the thing.
Exactly, the full circle. I think he's a prime example that PNP, or pace and power, as they call it on football Twitter, isn't the only attribute which is required these days. I think earlier, like when football wasn't as technical, especially English football, I think that time you could, put one strong midfield player there and who can barge anyone off the ball, and you'd be set for the win, or you'd be set to hold the lead, or at least the least you can do is get a draw. But these days, especially with managers like Pep Guardiola and last season Sarri as well, they're all very technical managers. And now, which is why clubs like Burnley are really struggling at the moment, because they have no technical players at all whatsoever. So I think that he's a prime example that you need to possess some sort of technical ability at least. And I think every time he played, I think you could see that he was just running around. He was clueless what he was doing. He was literally just running around, which is not what you want from a player for which you pay 40 million. And I think both of you summed it up really well. I think he has to go with at any cost. I think as long as anyone is willing to pay for him, he has to go, because he's convinced no manager ever since he was here. He's played under three of them, and none of them feel that he should deserve to play for Chelsea.
Yeah, he went on pre-season tour with Lampard.
You know what I find so strange about him is I made a video about this on my YouTube channel a couple of days ago, and I said specifically, he looks like a player, like his physique and his structure for a DM looks like he would be a devastating DM. Like you'd think box to box, pace, power, as you were saying, Ameya. But man, the guy's coordination is off. Like he can't put a pass together. He can't use his body well. There's been snippets where he's done well, but I think the Premier League is just a bit too much for him. And even in the preseasons, you boys would have seen how he struggled against no-name teams, like teams that Irish second division teams were, running circles around him. Look, yes, some have been saying that he's actually had a decent season in Monaco, but Monaco can't exercise his buyback option. So they've obviously got him on loan, but they can't exercise the buying option because they just financially are not in a position to make that call. And then, due to coronavirus and the French league being cancelled as well, they've missed out on so much revenue. So they actually don't have money to buy that kind of player. So I think we've got 2 more seasons with Bakayoko, but I honestly think, this is it. Get rid of him. No more loans. Try and cut our losses. If PSG is interested, as both of you guys have said, let's just get rid of him and cut our losses. I think if we can sell for 30 million, we actually don't even make any losses, because all the loans that we've been sending him for, we've actually been making some loan fees out of it. So hopefully 30 million PSG. Good luck to you. Now, next particular player. I'll start with Ameya this time. Danny Drinkwater. Now, this player, honestly, guys, look, Bakayoko, as Kunal was saying, was a manager-specific player. I can understand we were trying to play counter-attacking, and he's a defensive double pivot kind of player, complements Kante. But Danny Drinkwater is a player. Honestly, I remember he was bought quite late into the piece, as I recall. I can't make sense of. Like, I know Kante and Danny Drinkwater did so well for Leicester, but things never just repeat itself over and over again, right? So, Ameya, this player has been brought in by Chelsea, barely featured that much. He's done all sorts of wrong stuff last season when Sarri banished him because just didn't believe that he fit the system. And he's gone around going to clubs, nightclubs, brawling, drinking, doing all sorts of stuff. He's gone to Burnley this season again, brawling in nightclubs. And the crazy part is I think we have a contract for this guy till 2023. Like, he's not going away. So, Mia, what would be the right thing to do with this guy? I mean, I really don't want to deal with this guy next season.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know what we were thinking signing him. I mean, like, he was probably signed because of the English quota, if I remember correctly, that season. I think we went and signed Barkley in the January window as well. But I don't know. I frankly don't know what was going through. I don't know whoever suggested him to the board to even make the purchase, but I don't know what was going through that person's mind. I mean, you have to respect him. He's a Premier League winner. And I agree, he is a Premier League winner. He has more Premier League titles than Steven Gerrard. But however, that being said, I think the main problem is we agreed to pay him too much wages, right? And it was such a big step up for him from Leicester. And he got to a point where he didn't care about the football anymore. He's like, I'm getting 100K a week. It doesn't matter what I do on the pitch. It doesn't matter if I don't play. I get paid to train. I mean, what could be better than getting paid £100,000 a week to train with other world-class players? And I think that's what's going through his mind right now. And he's got to a point where he doesn't care. He doesn't care if he plays, if he doesn't play, or whatever. And he's just like, as long as the money gets credited in my account, I'm fine. And I think that has led to him getting, the carefree attitude, as you mentioned, going to clubs, getting into brawl fights and stuff like that. And because he simply lost track of his footballing career. I think this season he went on loan to Burnley, as you mentioned, and then I think they cut short his loan, and then he went to Aston Villa, if I'm not wrong, just before
but
this
why do you think this? Why do you think he went? Like, he's a Premier League winner. He would have seen the hard times in his career. Why all of a sudden comes to Chelsea, earns that level of money, and he thinks it's okay to do this? What sort of snapped him?
Well, I think it could be his mental position as well at the moment. Constantly being told by the manager that you're not good enough, you don't fit my plans. But for the amount of money which we paid for him and the amount of wages which we're giving him, I think no other club is willing to part with that kind of money on Drinkwater. I mean, he doesn't feature for any of the top 6 clubs or any of the top 10 clubs, if I may. And, most of the clubs which are going to be interested in signing him on loan or signing him permanently are the ones that are in a relegation battle, if you will. And I just don't think that the clubs who are engaged in a relegation battle can afford his wages or can afford to sign him on a permanent deal. And which is why I think he's stuck with us. I hate to use the term, but he is really stuck with us. And I don't know what we can do at the moment except for hope that someone comes and takes him in, because otherwise I think we're just going to have to keep him or keep loaning him until his contract expires, because I frankly don't know what else we can do. Maybe we could terminate his contract, but that would involve significant amount as well. So I don't know. One thing's for sure, that he's never wearing a Chelsea kit again.
These are the biggest issues that our transfer policies had in recent times, and hopefully we clean that up. As you said, I think there might have been some offers during the Sarri time. I think Sarri was quite clear to him that, look, you're not part of my plan. Go find yourself another club. But as you said to me, the biggest factor was no club was willing to give him the wages that we were giving him. And once you taste that kind of money, you don't want to go backwards. So, Kunal, what do you think, man? I mean, do we just keep loaning this guy out? Do we terminate his contract, which is going to cause even more issues legally? Are we just stuck with him?
I mean, when it comes to the situation of this guy, Danny Drinkwater, I kind of want to feel bad for him, but not really, because the off-field issues Because the reason I want to feel bad for him is because he was never supposed to be a Chelsea guy. He was never supposed to be a Chelsea guy. He was never supposed to be of that quality. Even on the day that we purchased him, no one really truly believed in that fact that he was somehow going to replace or be a substitute for Kante in some of the matches, not even against the lower league teams. He's a Premier League winner, but he was never absolutely exceptional in any of the traits. Even at the title-winning campaign at Leicester, where he was heavily featured, was never supposed to be. Even during those days, he was not a shot-stopping guy. He was not the one barging players out of their position. He was not that sort of a DM. And he's labeled as a DM, but I don't see the numbers of a DM as well. Because when you compare him to other DMs who are not exceptional in any of the other traits as well, someone like an NDD, who's not a ball controlling sort of a DM, he's not tricky sort of a midfielder, but he still puts on those numbers, at least in the defensive phase. Drinkwater was not even that sort of a guy. And then the fees involved, it really didn't help the matters as well. So when you're a player signed by a big club like Chelsea, you're not supposed to be from the offset. You're not supposed to, replace any of those existing midfielders that they already have. Even suppose a Fabregas was already going through a period of close to retirement, suppose you could say that. Now, Danny Drinkwater. I feel bad in that regard that when we purchased him, he wasn't really given that opportunity to even prove himself. You can say that he wasn't given a fair opportunity, but in this instances where he has been given that opportunity by other teams, you can see why he wasn't fancied by any of the managers as well. So fair play to the managers, Sarri and Lampard as well, for not putting too much faith in him, because the teams that actually have, even in the lower teams, no offense, like lower teams, where the pressure was not that much, where the pressure was not about winning the title or challenging for the title or even performing in the too good to be performing good so as to end up in the top 4. Even then, he hasn't put his weight up. When he wasn't given that much opportunity by Chelsea, and he hasn't done himself any good, any favors with his off-the-field antics and his performances as well. He's not even putting up around 2 tackles and interceptions a game. So what sort of a DM should have? That's just not a stat to be proud about as a DM. Vote yourself a DM. You're labeled as a DM. So I think, again, one of those terms, just put him out of his misery. I wouldn't even say cut his losses. I wouldn't say cut his losses. Just put the guy out of his misery. And, he's coming in news for all sort of things. He's not drinking water, supposedly. Doesn't involve water, and he's also on the wrong side of 30. I guess he's 29 and 30 almost. So it's not like I was shocked up. I just saw that a couple of months ago. I was like, yeah, he's reaching 30. I thought he had maybe there was a turning point in his career, but now, as history has shown us, it's all about to go downhill from here. And from here, he's actually at the basement floor. So downhill from here, I don't even want to imagine where that leads to.
Downhill from here is underground, bro. Underground.
So I think we should just put him out of his misery, man. I see him, I feel bad, and I feel annoyed. That's a mixed emotion that I've never felt before when it comes to a player. I just feel bad, or I feel annoyed. I get so many mixed emotions with Danny Drinkwater. He also looks like a person who's a rugged look player. You would think he's that sort of DM. He's just no nonsense sort of a DM. He's a Roy Keane sort of or sort of a player. No, I think even commanding a fee for that guy would be injustice to the team we sell him to. I think, I don't want to be disrespectful or anything. He's a Premier League winner, but on a wage of 100K a week for the next 3 years, and you're expecting the other team, who will surely not be fighting for any titles, you expect them to pay a fee as well. I don't think they're gonna come close to that. I don't think they would agree at all. So the only way, I'm not saying it out of disrespect. I'm saying the only way we can get rid of him is by terminating his contract or demanding the lowest possible fee of around 2 million, which would be an astronomical amount of losses given his wages and even his fee. So we'd have to handle that. There's no way he's wearing Chelsea kit, so what's the point, I guess. So I think we need to sell him for as cheap as possible so that the other team feels the need to just have another man in the squad. Yeah, that's my.
I feel so, as you said, man, I'm same as you, mixed emotions. Like I feel sad, I feel annoyed, I feel angry. All of that in one for this particular player. And, he's gone to Burnley and he's done nothing there either. Like you'd think Burnley, come on, man. Like there's no pressure, as you said. You need to perform there at least, help them out. But, he's barely featured for them. I think, he's been suspended because of the brawl issue that he had in between. But even when he was there, he didn't get the chance once again. He was in the bench and whatnot. But there's something about him since the Leicester days is just, I think one has to ask themselves a question eventually that, is the love for this game still there? So, and if it's not there, do the right thing. But I understand. I mean, he has families. He needs to bring money. I think once this Chelsea contract is over, I don't know, as you guys have both boys have been saying, he may not be able to land another, contract I don't think in the Premier League. Who knows, maybe in the Championship, maybe other leagues around the world, God knows. But if you've got no passion to play, if you're constantly just going to be mentally distorted, I think Chelsea really needs to sit down with him at the end of this season and just have a frank conversation and say, mate, what do you want to do? Are you still a footballer? Because if you are, then train hard. And if you can impress Frank, which I don't think he can, and we've got plethora of midfielders, but at least train hard and go somewhere else on a loan again and really do well and actually make Frank think that, okay, maybe, should he be part of the squad? Do you know what I mean? So, but until and unless he does that, he leaves no option besides the fact that he's going to get loaned again. Or hopefully, as, Kunal was saying, that someone comes in and, we sell him for cheap, but I don't know if we're going to keep selling him for cheap. I think we are going to hope that we can send him on a loan where he does well and then hopefully entice a team to purchase him for something respectable around the 10 million mark, hopefully. But he has to do well. Anyway, let's move on to the next one, which is even more interesting. I'll start with Ameya again. Michy Batshuayi. Now, here's another player who's, oh man, just makes me upset, guys. Honestly, he makes me upset. Yes, he scores some clutch goals here and there, and I thank him for that. But whenever he gets the start, whenever he gets the opportunity to play for us, oh my God, he frustrates me, man. It's like the rest of the team is playing a particular style and Michy Batshuayi is playing another style. It's two different entities. So, Ameya, the good thing about Batshuayi is that I did a tweet about him yesterday. His contract ends at the end of next season. So we only have one more season to deal with. However, the sad part here is I don't want to see him again for us next season, and I don't want him to leave for free. We should be able to do some sort of business, hopefully by the end of this season, to sell him for at least 10 to 15 million to someone, maybe back to France, maybe in Germany. He's still 26, so he's young. It's not like he's old. So, there could be some value there. What's your thoughts, Ameya?
Yeah, actually, you said it really well. He's still 26, right? That you shouldn't be allowing 26-year-old or 27-year-old players to go on free because that is the prime of their career. So, as you mentioned, I don't think there'll be any shortage of clubs trying to sign him this summer, honestly, especially in the French league and also in the Bundesliga, where he did really well with Dortmund. I think the season we signed him again under Antonio Conte, I think his name seems to be featuring a lot, doesn't it? He wasn't really particularly targeting high-profile targets. So, but I think this signing was more of a Chelsea board signing over Antonio Conte. I think a lot of other clubs like West Ham and Crystal Palace were linked with him when we signed him in 2016, was it? Yeah, 2016, I think. I think he had a really good season in the French league that year, and I thought that, everyone just assumed, oh, he's from the French league and he did really well. So, oh, let's call him the next Drogba. But he wasn't. He was nowhere close to what Drogba was for Chelsea. And despite being in the club,
to Drogba, honestly, such an insult to Drogba.
Definitely. And despite being at the club for 4 long years, if you can't nail a starting spot, I don't think you deserve to play for the club anymore. I mean, what are you going to be, a bench warmer for the rest of your career, the entire career? Just because you want to stay at a club and earn that high wage, are you willing to be called, a bench player for your entire career? And I don't know, but I think he's had pretty fruitful loan spells. I think at Dortmund he was pretty excellent.
Yeah.
And then the Valencia move sort of didn't work out, but then he went to Palace, and then again had an impressive partnership with Zaha and Benteke. So it's interesting because I think the only reason he stayed this year was because of our transfer ban. I honestly think that, without any disrespect, but had we not had a transfer ban, I don't think he would have stayed. At the beginning of the season, I actually thought he would get a lot more playing time than he has, because
Same. I actually thought he was going to be our main striker.
Yeah,
definitely. I was with you on that one at the beginning of the season. I honestly thought that he should be getting more time, and every time Tammy was not starting and Giroud was on the bench, and I would go, and every time Chelsea announced the lineup on Twitter, and I would go and comment, "Where's Batshuayi? Justice for Batshuayi," and stuff like that. And now when I look back on that, man, was I wrong. He's had a few good substitute appearances. I think coming off the bench, he scored against West Ham, scoring against Ajax. Sorry, not West Ham, Southampton, if I'm not wrong, in our 4-1 win. Yeah. And then after that, scored the late goal at the Johan Cruyff Arena against Ajax as well. So he's had some memorable performances. Yeah. He's had some memorable performances, but I think when the summer transfer window does open this time, I think it's time to move him on, because we're still only 26, as you mentioned. We could get a decent fee for him from some clubs, and hopefully that it's a permanent transfer and not a loan again, because I can see some clubs snapping him up, especially if I may mention Lyon. I think because the French league decided to stop the league as it is and decide the positions points per game. I think Lyon missed out on European football altogether, which is why they could be pressured to sell their top players, especially Moussa Dembele, who were linked to it. And I think they could choose to go for Batshuayi, because he's proven in the French league, and he's a decent striker, and we could sell him on a cheap, cheaper than what they will command for Moussa Dembele, that's for certain. So I think that could be a potential fit for him, and hopefully he moves on this summer.
Yeah, no, I mean, spot on, man. Kunal, Ameya was obviously talking about the loan, perhaps. But I personally can't see a loan, because this is his final season, because loan would mean that's it. We can't cash in on him properly. But Ameya did mention something really, really fruitful, in the sense that French league, there's a lot of clubs in the French league that are suffering from this coronavirus financially, and one of them being Lyon, who's not going to be featuring in Europe altogether. Now, do you feel someone like Michy Batshuayi, we could use him as, and I've said it yesterday once again in Twitter, that we could possibly see a lot of this player plus cash kind of deals happening in the next in the next windows during this financial crisis. Do you feel Batshuayi is someone that could entice other clubs, where we could target someone and perhaps use him as a player swap plus cash situation?
So when it comes to Michy Batshuayi, you might have also been viewing my Twitter interactions. He used to be the apple of my eye ever since we signed him. 2016, I was like, Diego Costa and Michy Batshuayi, that's a dream front two. He also proved it in spells. Even at Chelsea, he used to be a super sub, and that's where the stats, they make it really hard to judge a player. The stats, they make him seem like the next coming of Didier Drogba himself, and that's where I thought the comparisons were justified as well. Even in my head, somewhere down there, I was like, yeah, Didier Drogba, Michy Batshuayi, I can see him getting to that level somehow, and hence the phrase "apple of my eye." I could never understand why we used to loan him, especially when Didier Drogba left, and I saw what Morata was doing for us, or the lack thereof,
Yeah.
or what he's not doing for us, should I say?
Yeah.
And this is where he really, this season was the be all end all for me. This is the ever since I saw him coming back to Chelsea this season, the Eminem song came to my head. Your moment, one moment we took that. Wasn't to be. Just one of those cases, man. Wasn't to be. So this is where the stats make him look good, but also at the same time, the stats also reveal a frightening story for me. So I'm not much of a stat guy, but I do also believe they tell a story as well when it comes to it. So Mitch 226 minutes in the Premier League this far. So mainly as a sub, and also because Giroud has shown to be more contributing than him. So Michy Batshuayi has played 226 minutes in the Premier League this far. One goal, one assist. That one goal where Pulisic, played the ball for him and one assist as well. So the stat guys, they will bring the fact that it's a goal involvement every 110 minutes. That's almost elite levels of goal contributions. Yeah, you could say that. He gets involved after 80 minutes most of the time, and he's averaging one shot a game. Plays a striker, right? That's Kante numbers. That's Kante numbers. He's averaging one shot a game. All right, you're not a short monster, but surely you are at least a Firmino type, I guess, because you're bringing others into play, or maybe you're just holding up the ball, passing it on to the wingers. 0.2 key passes, not getting involved. So even I cannot use the benefit of
You're
the
not
doubt.
doing a great job, Kunal, to sell this player. I hope no other clubs are listening to this.
It was the apple of my eye, man. I was hurt after seeing him on this season, that Manchester United game. I don't like seeing Mark Goldbridge on Twitter bantering or on YouTube when he's on my recommendations.
Yeah.
I hate that fact, man. And I just want to see him. I just want to go about my YouTube business, enjoying my time there, not borderline deleting it altogether, just because Mark Goldbridge is out there bantering me. So, he averages 0.2 key passes, so he doesn't get involved at all when it comes to the final third, because key passes are the metrics that only improves for a player who is out there, putting on those Kevin De Bruyne type crosses, or as a striker, I can forgive you for that. He doesn't dribble, 0.3 dribbles. So when it comes to Michy Batshuayi, I think, as sad as it feels, I think this season was supposed to be the one. I think we all can agree, even I agree to the fact that for me he was the starting striker at the beginning of the season, but he just cannot grab that mantle, And when is the better time gonna come? The next season is his last. Even if we somehow are going to extend his contract, which hopefully is not the case, but even if we were supposed to, extend the contract by a couple of years, seeing that he's still in his prime, what better time was going to come? This was supposed to be the year. There's no way he gets a better opportunity than this season.
Yeah.
And he hasn't grabbed the bull by its horn. Yes, a couple of goals here and there, and crucial one, the clutch goals, as you mentioned, but that doesn't make you a starting striker for an elite club. And as much as it hurts, and this season was supposed to be the make or break year for him, he hasn't done himself any favors with his performances, with his loads and loads of missed chances. The Morata-esque playing hasn't helped him. So I think he's still in his prime. He would still command a fee, still a decent striker. Maybe we can sell him based on the fact it's just a bad patch. You can look at his other loan deals where he's performed. You can just sell it as a bad patch of games, and he hasn't even done that thing he used to be good at. He hasn't been a great super sub either. Which was the only bailout card for him, that he's a super sub. It's good to have a super sub, right? But even in that role, he's not excelling anymore. So I don't see the point. And at his career stage, at the stage of his career when he's at his peak in his prime years, I think would still command a significant fee for him. So I think the best option for his sake as well. I think I respect the guy. I like the guy for his sake as well. I think he also needs to let go of that thought that he's certainly going to make it. I think he himself believes in that fact, and that's harming him more than the club. It's harming his career as well. So I think he should also look at the fact it's not going to work out. Tammy has shown. So, and he's also much younger, Tammy, so has more space to improve. So obviously Lampard is going to stuck with the academy guy. I think the mutual benefit here lies in Michy Batshuayi finding another club, maybe not the top of the tier, but certainly at a club where they're good with being, challenging for European spots and that. I think he's also going to contribute there. And a fee of around 20 to 30 million should, I think, be enough for us to say, I think it's time for Michy to find you a better place.
Yeah, no, well said, man. I think 20 to 30 million during these times might be a bit tough, but man, honestly, if we can get 20 million, wow, that'll be the best business. I know Marina is known for her business, but even during these times, that's going to be quite a big bit of a stretch. But yeah, I think, as you guys said, we all agree, this is one player for his own sake needs to move on. Final player, before we ask you a very, very surprising question at the end. So the final player I want to talk about is, I'll go to Ameya, Ross Barkley. Now, I don't know about you guys, as you said, Michy Batshuayi, Kunal was saying that it was his apple in his eye. And Ross Barkley is probably the apple in my eye. As I've said it a few times that he's my irrational take. Ross Barkley is my irrational take. Not everything in football sometimes makes sense. He's the one that does not make sense for me because I really, really like him. I think I have this dream and I keep thinking this dream is going to come true with Ross Barkley. But sadly, I know this is one of those ones where it will never happen. It will never happen. It's one of those really, really sad, you can call it a sad Bollywood movie. It's just one of those ones will just not end up in a good state. So, Ameya, look, Ross Barkley is one of those players I honestly thought this season, I kid you not, you guys are going to laugh. I thought he was going to be Chelsea Player of the Year. Like this season, I penciled him down that. Yeah, I honestly thought. Come on. Yeah, I honestly did. Like I thought, transfer ban, start of the season, Ross Barkley, preseason, Ross Barkley looked amazing. The number 10, he's going to take over. Yeah, like Hazard-esque kind of style. Wow, this guy is going to make sure we are going to take over. And I penciled him down that he was going to be Chelsea Player of the Year, and how crazy and foolish that was. So, Ameya, just before, obviously, we went on lockdown, he started to put some performances together. He looked like, he was listening to Frank's instructions as to how Frank wants him to play. Are you sold by what you saw just before the lockdown, or you think he needs to go as well?
Right now, I'm on the edge. I'm not going to lie. I'm on the edge because right when he started performing really well, I think we had to suspend the season because if not, had he continued to put in those sort of performances, right now I'd be sitting here and telling, yep, he's going to stay. But having seen what sort of a player he is over the past couple of years, I'm not quite sold on him yet because we've always seen this happen with him. I think even under Sarri, in a 3-game spell, he got 3 goals and 3 assists, scored the late equalizer against Manchester United. And
I think he was player of the month as well. He was player of the month.
Exactly. So I think those sort of instances, if I may, show that he does have the quality, right? He does have the caliber. The only thing he's lacking right now is consistency. And I think at Everton, or when we just signed him from Chelsea, he came back from a lengthy injury spell and a long injury history. So I think that was okay. But at Everton, he was considered a youngster. So I think at that time it was okay to be inconsistent. But now, when you're at the prime of your career and when you've taken over the number 8 jersey from a club legend like Frank Lampard, I mean, I know Oscar wore it briefly in the middle, but right now let's just ignore that fact. So when you take on that sort of kit at such a prestigious club, right, you've got to have some sort of level. right? You've got to show that, yes, I can play for this club. And he's been showing that in pre-season. Even this season, I think in the Carabao Cup, if I'm not wrong, against Grimsby, he put in a fantastic performance.
Yeah,
I was absolutely mesmerized by his play that game. But overall, when you come to think about it, it's become a common factor, hasn't it? When he plays 2 good games, when he has a good month, and then the next month you're wondering is he the same player he was, because he does something so excellent and so brilliant, and the next minute he looks so clueless, right? And we're like, what is this, mate? But I think the problem is he's too safe. I think we've seen this on Twitter quite a lot of times. He's a player that does not want to take risks for some reason. Like, you look at him play, and then he always makes the simple pass. Very rarely does he go out of his way and try something extraordinary, because I don't know, maybe it's a lack of confidence. Maybe he's not mentally there yet. But as you said, even he is my irrational player that I like as well, because I still think that he's got the goods. I mean, even I put out a tweet a couple of months earlier saying that which is the one player you wish that had fulfilled the expectations with which he was signed, but didn't. Yeah, exactly. And that Ross Barkley was the player for me there. So I really hope that he can turn it around. And him staying is actually contingent for me. Should we go ahead and pursue another attacking midfielder? For example, Aouar from Lyon could be getting sold on a very cheap transfer, and Coutinho on loan seems like a probable option. That's the rumor that's been thrown around the past couple of days. So should we go ahead for a player like Aouar or for a player like Coutinho, then I don't see any reason in keeping Ross Barkley at the club any longer. But should we not sign them? I mean, I wouldn't blame the club if they chose not to sign another attacking midfielder, because we have a lot of options, and with the financial crisis as well. So I don't blame the club if they do not sign another attacking midfielder. If that's the case, I think we should keep him for another season, however irrational it might sound. And I think Matisse is going to go crazy if he ever hears this. but I think we should keep him another season.
Yeah, you guys know very well how I feel about this player, so I tend to agree with that. Kunal, what's your take on Ross Barkley, man? I don't think I've ever heard you talk about Ross Barkley, so I'm keen to know.
So let me start off with the fact that Everton Ross Barkley, you saw him, you knew, always felt like he was born to be destined. He was a baller. The word that comes to mind is the baller. Ross Barkley in Chelsea, the only thing that the word that comes to mind is player. He's a player he was a player at Everton, and now at Chelsea he's a confident player. The main difference being that Everton, he was assured of his starting place. The reason he plays it safe, in my humble opinion, is the fact that his place in the midfield at Everton was assured. And at Chelsea, with so many midfielders out there, so at Everton, he was always going to start in the midfield. So he used to always go about sprinting and dribbling and doing all sort of these winger hazardesque play. But now, with so many midfield options, I think Ross Barkley doesn't want to, but he has to play it safe. For some reason, I think that's also an issue. But I would also agree with your thing that I see bits and pieces of him. I don't usually say a lot of stuff about Barkley, because that's the sort of player he is. Nothing to write home about. That's been his Chelsea career.
Doesn't merit any sort of commentary.
Nothing to write home about. But then once again, when pointing out the stats, it's not the worst. It's actually quite promising, if anything. For a guy who's 25 years old and still doesn't get the chance, or still doesn't get to start very often. Whenever he's employed in all sorts of positions as well. An attacking midfielder, in the pivot, sometimes in the wings, not on the sheet, but he sometimes is employed in that area while playing. Wings. So in Premier League this season, he has managed to play for around 675 minutes. Not bad, not good, nothing like that. Nothing to write home about him. 3 assists, no goals. He is averaging 1.5 tackles and interceptions. So you cannot say he's not putting his weight when it comes to the defensive phase. It's not much, but it's okay for an attacking midfielder, which is
for an attacking midfielder. Yeah,
he's built like Ruben Loftus-Cheek. He's quite similar in that regard. They're both built quite similarly. But when you see Ruben Loftus-Cheek, it's quite apparent the way he uses his body while sprinting and dribbling.
Yeah.
So he gets fouled because none of the other defenders are able to catch the ball. They usually catch his feet. So nimble on his feet, Ruben Loftus-Cheek. Ross Barkley is similar in that regard. I think he can dribble quite well, but then again, he ends up usually making that back pass when he should have gone for that through ball. And that's where the confidence comes into play. But still then, 1.5 key passes. That's actually a quite promising number if you relate to that key pass sort of metric. If you know what that So 1.5 key pass is actually promising. Ross Barkley, 25 years old. And he's a sort of a utility player. Not always, he is also quite content with sitting on the bench. And for a world-class team, for a team that's winning trophies, it's not possible to accumulate a team of 22 world-class players.
Yeah.
You need bench players who, when called upon, can at least do a job and also contribute in certain areas of the pitch. He's a very versatile player as well. And that Evertonian Barkley, that was the main issue with him. During his growth years, I think we purchased him at the wrong time. I think we are also to blame here a little bit. That's the point in your career when you should be playing the maximum minutes as you can at the time when you bought it. So that was also a hindering sort of a scenario.
And he was injured as well. He was injured. We bought him injured.
Yeah, and also didn't give him the minutes that were required at his age. Just imagine Mount at 20 years old and the amount of minutes he's getting and the way he's getting better as well as the time has progressed. He's understanding his role better, is contributing to the team on a whole now. Even Mason Mount in his first couple of games, just like Ross Barkley used to seem like a player who's playing his own game, right? He was doing his own thing. But now Mount, you can see him putting his weight in the midfield, in the defensive phase as well. He's understanding he's able to see that pass. He's able to make that pass as well. Just not seeing the pass, making that pass as well, which is important. So that's where Ross Barkley, I think, has done himself the injustice by not doing it when the minutes are actually arrived. But at the same time, Chelsea have not afforded him the minutes as well. I see a player, not going to lie, I think I really agree with both of you in that regard. And as again, I mentioned, not all 26 player squad can be a world-class squad of players. That's going to win you trophies. You need players to come in, do their thing, and also be a good rotation option. Barkley is more than capable sort of player. And I think I see him doing bits in the midfield when he's playing against lower league teams. I think just Frank needs to have a sitting with him that if you can do it against those sort of opposition, there's no way that you cannot at least replicate the performances against the higher opposition as well. He's a confidence player. He'll have 2 good games and then he'll just continue on a roll unless until he gets another injury or a certain pause or a certain vacation for a couple of weeks arises. So I think, Ross Barkley is a player that I can see making it in the team eventually, at least as a squad player. And I would also like for him to stay for another year. I think he can still improve even at 25 years old. I think still with minutes, you can improve. I think age is a sort of a overrated factor in that regard, that you cannot improve once you're 24 or 25. I think minutes, we see so many players blooming after their 30s as well, because they went to a club that was able to, cash in and give them the minutes and, believe in them, believe in their abilities. So I think that will also help Ross Barkley a lot. Those minutes.
There's plenty of players that have improved as they've gone older. Like they've gotten better and better and better.
And he's so nicely built. He is built like a proper midfielder, proper all-action midfielder, all-action sort of midfielder.
Yeah, and that goal against Liverpool just before the lockdown as well, that was brilliant. The way he sort of sliced through the middle, and then the arrow-like shot. But yeah, as you guys said, man, I think overall he's one player that I think deserves. No, I wouldn't say deserve, but we could possibly give him another shot, and it's really up to him to take that opportunity. Once again, I don't know how much chance we're going to get to sell him this coming window. There probably could be suitors, but once again, He still, I think, has about 3 more years left in the contract, so I'm not sure if he's going to be cheap, and I don't think we'll be selling him for cheap as well. Even though we did buy him for cheap, but nonetheless, we don't want to make a loss out of Ross. That sounds very rhythmic. Loss out of Ross. Now, boys, that has come to the end of this discussion. However, before we go, I did say that there's a surprise question. I think we all agreed that Barkley is one that we'll keep, so we'll keep Barkley away. So I'll start with Ameya first. Ameya, out of the 3 players we talked about, the other 3 players besides Barkley, we talked about Batshuayi, Bakayoko, and Drinkwater. If you were forced to keep one and forced to use one, who would be the one that you would say, okay, fine, I'll keep this player in my squad and I'll find some benefit out of it? Who would be that player for you?
That's not fair, man. You say we can pick up any of the other 4 players. Now you can't just remove Barkley off like that.
Barkley was the easy pick, man. Come on.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. So, out of the other 3, I'd have to say Batshuayi, man. There's no way I can see more of Bakayoko. He's not suited for the Premier League. There's no way I can see any more of Drinkwater. I mean, he's just terrible. I don't mean to be harsh, but he's just... I don't know what's running through his head, so I can't.
You don't think Bakayoko pace and power, Ameya? One more time, man, pace and power. One more time.
I hate the pace and power players. I mean, the people on Twitter who keep saying he's got the pace and power to succeed in the Premier League. I'm a firm believer that technical ability above anything else. And the prime example of that was Billy Gilmour against Liverpool. I mean, Fabinho is 3 times the player that Gilmour is physically, but Gilmour absolutely ran rings around him that night. And I'm a firm believer that technical ability above anything else, and no pace and none of that pace and power stuff. Bakayoko's gone out through the door. Drinkwater's gone out through the door, hopefully. We shall see. And we're also stacked in midfield, if I'm not wrong. So those 2 are the ones to go for me. It's a no-brainer. I'd frankly be very surprised if Kunal picks any one of the other 2, man.
I'm gonna try and get a surprise answer from Kunal. So Batshuayi for you, Kunal. Any chance Drinkwater, man? Give him a chance, man.
As a ball boy, as a Drinkwater. As a Drinkwater
water boy.
Also, I would like to include an honorable mention as well. A player regarded mostly by people on FT as a deadwood player, but I think needs another chance, or at least I think Marcos Alonso as well. He's regarded quite often as a deadwood player. Marcos Alonso.
It's funny you say that. I purposely didn't put this player in this discussion because I feel he's Azpilicueta can do a job in left back, but all this time we've been making fun of him. He's probably the better one out of Emerson and Azpilicueta, as I said, can do a job. But, he's the one who's been producing some goals from the left side, and he's made us look a little bit more threatening from the left side. Yes, his defense is crap, but that's one reason why I don't think, unless we buy another left back to replace, a world-class left back to replace all these people, I can't consider this guy as a deadwood now. Like, it would be... it would be a shame to call him a deadwood now because he's actually done pretty well in the matches that he's played for us this season.
Yeah,
yes,
even then he's completing more defensive actions than Emerson. Like we just ignore the fact that Emerson has also been quite good in a couple of games, but other than that, when he had got the opportunity, he didn't nail down his position. Just because he played. They're guilty of that stuff, man. Even I, as a Chelsea supporter, when we just don't see a player getting that sort of minutes and the team is not doing well, just think that the player somehow is better than he actually is. Emerson is a utility player once again. He will be a bench player for most teams. But then again, bench players who are starting don't win you the titles. A bench player sitting on the bench can contribute when they are asked. So this is where Marcos Alonso, he is more goal threatening than the likes of Lucas Moura and stuff. So I think in another word, he's probably leading the line for a Madrid, He's that a sort of player. In other words, he develops those technical skills, and in a parallel universe, he's leading the line for Real Madrid because he's that deadly within the 12-yard box, man. He's that deadly. Yeah. The best player. I'll go as far as to say he's the best player. He's the player I'd want the ball to fall to when it's a clutch situation, when it's 85 minutes I mean, he doesn't.
Bro,
As
from
a
the
player-
left side, from the left side, every time the balls reach that sort of area this season, against Burnley, we've seen as well. There was one against Spurs this season, and the guy he knows how to shoot. He knows where the goal is.
He's got a deadly foot. I'll definitely not go with Bakayoko, no matter how much he forced me into accepting him into the team. Drinkwater, I mean, I don't want to continue with that sort of a discussion. It would have to be but I'm just trying to make an excuse within my head but now we already got 8 midfielders. I'll call him Gallagher if we really had to. If all of them got injured somehow, I'll call him Gallagher. So yeah, Batshuayi would have to be the player for me, also because I would like to see Dries Mertens making an appearance for us, because even though he's old, I think he still has quite a lot left in the tank. But Batshuayi is a player that still, again, if he can somehow manage to bring that super sub instincts back, then I can see a place for him. Super sub instincts are also quite undervalued, because when you
it's necessary. It's necessary. Yeah.
So yeah, Batshuayi would be that player for me as well.
No, brilliant. Thank you so much, boys. I think I've had a very enjoyable time, man. I've had a good laugh with you guys, which is great. Both of you guys made me laugh a lot, and I hope the listeners, they get to have a bit of a laugh on this as well. I think, we talk about a lot of serious stuff, here, and it's good to sit down and have a bit of a laugh. So, look, first of all, thank you so much for joining Kunal and Ameya. Any last words before you go? I'll start with Ameya.
Yeah, nothing, man. It was great to be on, and a good change to talk about football for once, especially when we're missing it so much at the moment. So, it was great. It was a great chat, and hopefully we can have more of these soon in the future.
For sure, man. For sure. Kunal?
Yeah, I'd just like to mention how proud I am of the Blue Stands community. Given the circumstances of this lockdown, I haven't had the time to get involved as much as I would like to, because these are the times when you are looking for the job security, and that's where I'm focusing my mind to. But seeing the expansion of the team and the hard work they are putting in, I'm quite proud to be a part of it and contribute as much as I can, and hopefully I can do it on a more regular basis from here on. And I also would like to appreciate Ameya for his work that I'm seeing, and Miz, as usual, you're the apple of the eye of Chelsea football Twitter. So, yeah, man.
No, brilliant, man. I think well said. Yeah, Amir has contributed some amazing articles for us, so to really thank him for that, and many other people as well, and Kunal, you as well. You've contributed. So, and now you guys are in the podcast, so that's contribution as well. And I'm going to keep bringing you guys back with many different other people, and maybe even more people, just to have a bit of laugh and giggle, I suppose, during these times. So yeah, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this episode, and until next time, see you all. Take care and goodbye.